Welcome to Atlanta CFA Insights. These podcasts will highlight the career journey of members in the Atlanta finance and investment community. Today we're talking to Matt Toms of Voya about his career as a CFA, how Matt's firm Voya values the CFA designation, and an overview of Matt's work and insights. We're excited to have Atlanta's financial leaders sit down and take a moment to reflect. Thanks for joining us today, Matt.
Thanks, Steve. Happy to be here.
Please tell me, Matt, how has having the CFA designation impacted your career?
So it's definitely been a meaningful impact on my career, and I'd really kind of break it into four different ways that I would identify how the CFA has helped. One, and I think this is underestimated, it helped provide some context about the overall mission of the investment markets, and helps understand that ultimately all the different jobs in the investment world are tied to one common goal, which is to optimally distribute capital throughout the society and the economy. And by doing so, you actually increase the wealth and efficiency of the society. It's not just about having jobs that pay well. Those jobs actually have a collective purpose. And I think that's really easy to lose in the broader in the broader array and the noise that come through the market and jobs on a day-to-day basis. So that's number one. Number two is when in the job, particularly early in people's careers, it's easy to not have a whole lot of context about the broader investment markets. People are in an individual job, and this can be true early or late in life. And it can be difficult to understand how that individual job actually aligns to even a corporate mission or a team mission or an industry mission. And I think studying for the CFA exam, achieving the CFA designations, helps provide a broader context, which actually defines that ecosystem. And by defining that ecosystem more broadly than one's individual tasks day to day, I think it provides optionality and good insight into what can be future career opportunities for people within the investment world. So that's number two. Number three is it's a door opener. I think many people know it credentializes those that both strive for and achieve the designation. I do believe and have believed that a CFA or an MBA are kind of calling cards that show a commitment and an acumen, and ultimately that credentializes people and I think accelerates careers over time. And then lastly, the networking. You're talking about a very esteemed group of people who have worked hard, generally successful in the industry, and that provides a great network both for career optimization, but also just for advice and sharing of ideas for others who are in the industry. So those are the major ways that I think the designation has helped impact my career.
Matt, how does the CFA coincide with what your firm, Voya, does and values?
Yeah, so the CFA designation is directly aligned to within Voya Investment Management, even broader Voya with the retirement platform, the life insurance components of our business, as well as employee benefits. But directly within Voya Investment Management, where I sit, I'm the Chief Investment Officer of Fixed Income. We manage $212 billion at Voya overall. $120 billion of that is within the fixed income component. So there's 160 investors here in the team in Atlanta that help manage that $120 billion across an array of different asset types. So government bonds, mortgage bonds, corporate bonds, securitized, real estate, global. So there's an array of different markets that we're constantly underwriting and understanding. And those core skill sets of understanding how to invest, how to analyze companies, how to analyze markets that are so key to the curriculum are all at the crossroads, including things like economics, things like the legal components and the ethical components, all are key parts to what we do on a day-to-day basis. And are also key parts in the minds of our customers. So we sell through both insurance companies, pension funds are our clients, retirement funds, or individual investors in 401ks. They're often CFAs or at a minimum very aware of the curriculum. So we need to speak the language to understand how to invest, but also to interact with our clients best. So it's really, really at the crossroads of our business.
What does a typical day entail for you, Matt, at Voya?
Right. So the typical day is hard to define because one of the things that I would say about market-related jobs It's best suited for people who are okay with not typical, right? So the markets are often volatile. They're often unpredictable. But ultimately, at its heart, what I love about having a job in the investment markets and at Voya is it's our job to help try to understand what's going on in the world. A job in investments is really about understanding a constantly changing landscape of risks and opportunities. So first and foremost, my job at Voya, it's about markets. It's about understanding markets and the different markets we operate within. And it's about iterating with the team leaders. So those 160 members of the team and their key senior components, senior leaders within that, constantly have an interaction together and with me to help understand through their eyes and ears what's going on in the market. I think many believe that investment professionals are kind of great white sharks hunting on their own and looking for money to make. The reality is the analogy is much better to think of orcas that hunt in a pod. Investment teams that work together as a team, share information as a team, have an advantage. And that's job number one. Understand the markets so that we can deploy for our clients. And what that means is teamwork. It means getting as many sets of intelligent eyes or ears, and often CFAs, working together. That's job number one. Job number two is there's a lot of managing that goes on as the head of the platform, managing the business, managing the people, making sure people's careers are developing at the right pace, providing the right guidance and the right tweaks to the business structure. That's job number two. And then job number three is interfacing with clients, distribution, the media, and the like. So those are three components. That third, really critically important, because everything we do from a investment outlook, from a managing standpoint, is all driven towards what does our client need and how are we going to deliver that. It's not just about market going up, market going down. So what do clients need, making sure we're using our tools to tailor to their specific needs. And that's why that third component, that interface component, is critical. So markets one, manage two, and constant interface with clients and distribution would be the third task that keeps me busy each day.
Do you have any additional insights, Matt, about career or markets which you'd like to share with our listeners?
One thing that I think is critically important is the intellectual curiosity as far as careers in investment management. So the job in investment management is never done. And that can be good news or bad news depending on how different people approach the world. Effectively, the way that I view and the team views it is every night we go to bed and the world is still turning. There's a constant array of global influences, from earnings to political influences to geopolitical influences, that are reshaping the opportunity set within the investment landscape. The great part about an investment job is that every day some component of your job is to understand what's going on in the world around you. Read the newspapers, listen to research pieces, talk to your teams to understand ultimately what's going on in the world. That's our job. That's a great job because you're constantly allowed to think, but you're also constantly forced to think. You're never done. It's not like an engineer who builds a bridge. The bridge at some point is done and a car drives across it. A portfolio is never done. It's constantly evolving. So that can either be viewed as crippling because the job is never done, or the best job ever because what you're really paid to do is to constantly learn about the world around us. So intellectual curiosity is key. People who are very smart but don't have that curiosity typically will burn out in investments over time, and it's not the right career path for them. But ultimately, that kind of the second point I make is it's about a pursuit of a current truth. It's how does this all make sense from a political standpoint, economic standpoint, earnings. There's a lot of cross currents, and ultimately, when things are most convoluted and most choppy is when there's most opportunities in the market. So people enjoy looking at different countervailing forces. I think is a key attribute for people who will be successful in finance. And there's a frustration that can come with it, but that's ultimately the opportunity to do it better than others. And lastly, I'd say, and I think this is underestimated, it's that teamwork element. A lot of people who are driven to the investment world tend to be quite driven, and there can be a good amount of egos. Now, it's not as much as Wall Street would make out in some very famous movies. And there's a lot of different components of finance, from Wall Street to the buy side to individual professional advisors. But generally, the biggest thing to look out for and avoid in investments are big egos. I'm a big believer that people who are willing to work as a team can succeed. Big egos that want to work alone ultimately typically fail. So the team element is critical. There's just too much going on in the world to believe that you can succeed alone. What we look for are people who are super smart, super driven, and believe that working together will actually drive better outcomes. And the last thing I'd say is those outcomes are less about having a better crystal ball. And many like to think it's all about what's your prediction for the future? How will it come true? We think the reality is it's always difficult to have a perfect view of the future, but understanding those risk skews, where their upside and downside skews within the forward outlook, is what a team can do better. So the constant iteration of feedback from team members is critical and also very rewarding. A lot of smart people, driven people work in this business, and that's one of the best rewards you get in a career in finance, is working with a lot of high integrity and intelligent people.
We at Atlanta CFA Insights have really enjoyed talking with Matt Toms from Voya today. Your insights on the CFA designation, your firm, your insights on markets and career have been very helpful. Thanks for talking with us today.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for listening to Atlanta CFA Insights. For more from our members, go to asfip.org/insights and follow our organization on LinkedIn.